right, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'm Joe Miner, the City of Bowie Planning Director. This is a city-sponsored stakeholders meeting for the townhouse architecture at Melford Village. And we have a presentation tonight by the builder who's going to be showing the architecture to the community for the first time. These lots have been approved through the preliminary plan of subdivision that was approved over a year ago. Also a site plan for infrastructure has been approved on the site. So really what we didn't see last time was what the buildings were going to look like. And so the purpose of this review is to look at the proposed architecture proposed by Mid-Atlantic Builders. The purpose of the city stakeholders meeting is just to let people know about the project, give you information, answer your questions, and we can go through and answer as many questions as the public might have. This meeting is being recorded for viewing on the city's YouTube channel. So we're going to ask the builder to present the plan so that anyone who's watching the video later can learn more about the project. At this time, there are no city hearings scheduled. We anticipate scheduling hearings with our advisory planning board and our city council early 2021. And what I'd like to also mention, if anyone's come in late, we do have a sign-in sheet in the back. I'd like you to, if you could, just sign your name and contact information so that we can get in touch with you if anything changes. And at this point, I'll be the moderator for the meeting. If there's anything that I need to jump in and help to clarify, I'll do that. But otherwise, it's the developers and the builders' presentation. So at this time, I will turn the meeting over to the representative of the developer, who's the attorney, Robert Antonetti.
All right, good evening, everyone. Everyone's here, everyone at home. I am Robert Antonetti with the law firm of Shipley & Horn. We have the pleasure of representing the master developer for the Melford project, St. John Properties, and the builder who's going to be building the units that we're discussing tonight within a portion of the overall Melford project. That'd be Mid-Atlantic Builders. And tonight, I just give a little bit of orientation. It's been a while since we've been before the city in a stakeholders format. But for those of you who don't know, Melford is a large mixed-use project located at the intersection of Maryland 3 and US 50. It's right around the corner. It's zoned MXT, which is mixed-use transportation. It's a project that's had a long development history. It's included initially employment-type uses. In fact, there's about 1.5 million square feet of employment, office, flex R&D, and institutional uses that are out at Melford now. Throughout its life, it's had different fits and starts in terms of kind of getting a foothold and establishing itself. St. John Properties acquired it, I guess, circa 2000, maybe 1999. And they've developed the bulk of the uses that are out there today. Over time, it's become apparent that there's been a need to infuse a mix of uses, amenities and such, that really are hand in hand with different types of uses other than the employment type uses I mentioned earlier. Because of that, back in 2015, in concert with the city of Bowie, Prince George's County Planning Board, and ultimately the County Council sitting as the District Council of Prince George's County, Melford had an approval of a conceptual site plan that introduced a mix of uses, including not just the employment uses, but retail and residential uses. The intention there is to allow kind of a synergy of different use types that could balance and work off of one another. One of the limitations of the office-only concept is that there weren't appropriate amenities for the office worker. For example, restaurants or certain types of retail. The retail wouldn't come because the office component wasn't there enough to justify its placement there. Well, therefore, that brings in the residential component. The residential component offers the 24-hour type of activity and presence of others that could utilize the retail in the absence of when the office wasn't at its peak occupancy. So with that in mind, again, in 2015, the residential retail and office component was approved by the county ultimately and the city. It approved for residential purposes up to 2,500 residential units, which was a mix of attached townhouse type units and multifamily units. 1,000 market rate and 1,000 age restricted units. That number of 2,500 was pared down even further in 2017 when a preliminary plan of subdivision was approved, and that brought the total number of potential units just under 1,800, 1,793 to be exact, of which 293 were going to be the attached townhouse type units. As Joe Minor mentioned earlier, there was a site plan, a detailed site plan, which was reviewed by the city, which set forth the infrastructure for those attached units, which we're here to discuss tonight. That was approved for a total of 293 units. Currently, there is a revision to that site plan to reduce that number down to 249 units. It's a 44-unit decrease. The reason for that decrease is when the residential component of Melford was conceived, we were not only thinking, the master developer was not only thinking townhouses, but something called 2-over-2 units, which are stacked townhouses where there's units upstairs and there's a unit downstairs, but it looks like a townhouse from the outside. Through outreach to the market and through other efforts, it was determined that those 2-over-2 units really, there wasn't a market or strong enough interest in Melford for builders to bring those forward. So because of that, we're revising our site plan for the attached neighborhood, townhouse neighborhood, to go townhouse only. So that actually results in a 44-unit reduction in density in that attached area. If I'll just walk over here, I'll show you kind of what we're talking about and kind of set the stage to get into the architecture specifically. So, and after this meeting, feel free to walk up to the easels and investigate these in a closer up. But here's the master project of Melford, including all the existing or approved employment uses, that 1.5 million square feet. The center of the project, the mixed-use core, where the residential and retail were brought on, that's known as Melford Village. So it's kind of a community within a community. Particularly tonight, what we're here to talk about is the attached units, which are kind of outlined here in orange. If we move over to this board, this shows the area of the detailed site plan, which is the specific application type we're here to discuss tonight. The detailed site plan, this is the boundaries. It's about 51 acres of the overall Melford Village project. What's in blue here are, I guess, the footprints of the townhouses that we want to discuss tonight. Within this section, there are also some amenities just for the townhouse neighborhood, open space areas that will be programmed with some recreational amenities. There a board here that's kind of showing examples of what that will look like. There's one here with kind of an open brick field here with some pathways, hardscaping, seating, some planted slopes, interpretive signage, and basically this kind of innovative active recreation yard, a nice flat open yard area that kind of be a common area for the folks that will ultimately be living in this townhouse component of the Melford Town Center. If I walk over to this board here, here's another area here which will be programmed with seating, a playground and top lot, as well as some other open lawn recreation area, a pavilion, and again some innovative landscaping to help kind of beautify this common area, which will be open to the residents of the Melford Town Center and specifically the townhouse neighborhood itself. There are 3 townhouse types that are innovative, beautiful, well-designed product, which would be specific and unique to Melford. We'll basically get to that in a second, but these are going to be rather large units. The smallest will be just under 2,000 square feet of living space, not including the garage. The largest will be almost 2,900 square feet of living space. Again, each one of these units will have 2-car garages, and we think they'll be incredibly well received in the market. But I probably said too much, but that's the overview of where how Melford's been approved, conceived, and kind of working down to the narrow architecture that we're here today, which is, this is the reveal of the building types for this section within the project. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Andrew Rao, who's the regional partner for St. John Properties and the master developer, and I'll let him speak a little bit and introduce our builder representatives who are here tonight.
Thanks, Rob. Good evening. Let's see, I just want to give you a little bit of background on how we got to where we did tonight. So once we had the plan set for the townhomes and the preliminary plan, St. John did an offering memorandum to, pretty much all of the usual suspects, which would be the national builders and the regional players in the area. And I want to say, I don't know, that was a 3 or 4 long process, really. Let's call it 4 months. We landed with Mid-Atlantic builders out of Rockville. And one of the things I like about Mid-Atlantic is they have over 2,000 units they've developed in Prince George's County, and specifically about 900 in the greater Bowie area. So I'm not going to talk too much about the units because that's why we have them here, but amongst a lot of reasons why we liked them, their reputation is stellar within the county. You can talk to anyone down at DPI in the county, planning people. They're really well thought of. And we like the fact that they're just up in Rockville. So if we have issues or there's something going on, we can pick up the phone or we can jump in a car quite easily. We don't have to go to Florida or Texas or anywhere in between. So we're really pleased and really thankful that they ended up taking on this project. I'd like to introduce Kevin Fleming, is the VP of Land Acquisitions. Mike Rubenfeld is his COO, and Stephanie Moser is head of architecture. So they're far better equipped and able to explain what they're doing, so I'll let them speak. But we're lucky to have them.
Thank you, Andrew, and good evening to all of you here and those of you at home watching on the YouTube channel. So, Kevin Fleming with Mid-Atlantic Builders. As Andrew said, Mid-Atlantic, we've been in business for 40 years. We've been in the county building houses for about 30 years. We've built about 2,300 houses in the region, about 900 or so here in the greater Bowie area. We do about 150 houses a year, and we most recently were here. We finished a 20-unit project inside the Fairwood community, and we're about to get started on a 1,200-unit project down on 301 called South Lake, which is also in the city. So we have extensive experience both in the county and here in Bowie. As Andrew mentioned, went through this project. I guess we've been following it for a long time, obviously, as many of you have. And so I guess about a year or two ago, it got very serious with the builders, and some ideas and concepts were put forward about product. And there was a desire to come up with some townhome concepts that would be appropriate for the urban village that Melford was going to become. Today it's predominantly an office park, and it's got some residential, some senior housing in there. And this was going to become the residential village at the center of the community. And so the dialogue and the planning had kind of been in place to bring some residential homes. And so we have designed three homes. They're all unique to Melford. They aren't being built anywhere else in the county. We have developed elevations. They're absolutely unique to Melford. If you've been in Melford, you'll see the architecture that's in the community today is representative of some kind of traditional design, and it's got some more modern design. And so we really needed to play on what was existing in place and kind of create some transitional designs that could embrace kind of the traditional look that was in the community, but at the same time, kind of transition through to kind of some of the modern look that's in there today. There's a Courtyard by Marriott that's in there. There's a Thrive community that's in there. So if you look at our elevations, you'll definitely see pieces of what's existing in the community and our interpretation of how to kind of bridge kind of that collection of architecture. As I mentioned, we'll have 3 homes in the community. These are 20-foot wide townhomes and 24-foot wide. On the far left of me are the 20-foot designs. We'll have 2 different styles of homes in the 20-foot community. We will have a house that's roughly 2,000 square feet. We will have a secondary house that's larger, it's about 2,400 square feet. So that will represent the 20-foot townhome collection, and there's about 146 of those homes planned for the community. The board closest to my left is the 24-foot townhome. That house is going to be about 2,800 square feet plus or minus, and there's about 102 of those in the community. We are featuring brick fronts along with fiber cement siding. Fiber cement siding is, it's also known in the industry as hardy plank. That's one name of it. There's other manufacturers. It's not a vinyl product, it's a hard cement type product. So we're going to do a combination of brick and the fiber cement, both on the, there'll be some featured, some of the elevations have featured fiber cement on the front, but mostly the fiber cement is on the sides and on the rear of the home. And we'll also, as you can see from our elevation, we kind of do an extensive use of glass, both on the front of the home, on the side of the home, and on the rear of the home. So we believe that the more glass that you can put on the house, obviously the brighter and the more opportunity that you have to get more light into the house, it's going to have a better feel overall. So we've tried to introduce as much glass as possible. And then, as I mentioned, we've attempted to make sure that we embrace the collection of architecture that exists there today, along with kind of moving forward to this kind of more modernistic kind of view with some of the most recent projects. So these are the homes that are proposed at this point. I think maybe the best opportunity is, to kind of have a dialogue about these elevations. We're available to kind of talk through any of your questions or concerns. In terms of the process, I know that tonight's our first stakeholders meeting, and there will be additional processes, I know, over the next couple of months to have more dialogue about that.
Thank you, Kevin. So we're here to take any questions. Before I do, I'd be remiss. I'm not a practice. I haven't been in person in a long time anywhere. But we have Mr. Brian Falk, who's with Dewberry, our civil engineers as well. We have Mr. Matt Destino, who is with St. John Properties as well, development manager. So just be remiss if I didn't introduce them as part of the team as well. So we're here to answer any questions that you might have. And yes, sir.
My name is Richard Codd. My wife and, well, we raised 3 kids here. I've been here about 30 years. Been training with the police force of Bowie Citizens Police Academy. Thank you very much for coming to explain what you're going to build in Melford. A few questions. There was a little discrepancy. The first 2 gentlemen said 249 townhomes, and you said 100 and some odd.
So I believe the site plan that's going through is got 249 on it.
Right.
We've been moving. There's 3 units that I know that are moving around, at least in terms of where they're located. So it could be 246 or 249. It's
oh, okay.
Yes, that's right. Sorry for the confusion. Yes.
Then, I mean, they're beautifully designed, and I concur. They mirror what's already there and modernizing. Very cool. There's a lot of medical buildings that we have been using for years on the side next to the Marriott on the side. Huge question that I know many residents have in the ABCD, C sections of Bowie, the Levitt homes. Traffic. I saw on the design, which is out there because I walk around Melford almost daily, shopping center. So I looked online, I've been going to the websites about the 2 apartment complexes that will be built, and somewhere it said about 6,000 total in Melford. That's combination of the office workers plus the residents.
6,000 what?
Humanoids, people. People will be in Melford. That's what it says on some of the St. John websites of the 2 apartment complexes. I know that's not you. The question is shopping for these residents. Are they going to be coming to our Harris Teeter, Giant, Safeway, or are you going to build, maybe that's not you, St. John folks, will you be building markets and things like that for the residents there?
So, I'll answer some of that, but just to put it in context again. So this application, as you mentioned, that's not Mid-Atlantic. So, so the questions about traffic and density. So those were answered and thoroughly vetted and conditioned back in the 2015, the 2017 approval.
Right.
Improvements were made to the US 301. Other improvements to internal here were made or going to be made to support the population, whether it's employees or residents or customers. So that's all contemplated in the master approvals for the project. In terms of the mix of uses, which I talked about when we started, yes, there are other components of Melford, this is being one of them.
Yes.
There is a retail component. We call it the retail villages. There's a retail village east and a retail village west. And being familiar with the road in Melford Boulevard, coming under the overpass. So this is the retail village east here, which here shows 3. Retail village west. Excuse me. Retail village west, which shows 3 retail buildings and a future pad site. One of those pad sites is under construction right now, which St. John's has had the opportunity for, almost over 10 years, I believe, to build. So there's one being built speculatively right in the corner.
Is that behind the courtyard or? Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Right at the main circle.
You can see it going up.
Yeah, in front of the buildings.
Right. So, that is kind of the first salvo at retail. There's also the retail village east here, which is future development. There isn't an end user determined for that, but we're envisioning having a very nice sit-down restaurant, hopefully overlooking the lake. So that is set up for that potential. And then here in the core, across the road, in front of the Melford House, kind of more inline stores. Service-oriented, some place hopefully to buy your milk and eggs, so you can stay in Melford. You don't have to go out to the Harris Teeter. But that's certainly something
so
that will happen.
There will be no large markets in there no.
It won't replicate the Bowie Marketplace or other places like that. This will be more geared towards the residents and workers within Melford.
For their lunches or whatever. I see. So they will be coming to the Bowie Marketplace or Town Center or such for their.
Yes, we're and part of it, and Joe, you would recall when we contemplated kind of the flow and the mix of people coming in and out. There was concern about the city streets, and certainly in the Levitt sections, and what would that mean for Bel Air Drive, and there at that time there was identified traffic calming opportunities to and you probably experience them, and those were put in place at St. John's expense to either slow traffic down, and we haven't really developed the majority of our usage yet, but to just keep people calm through those thoroughfares within the local streets if people choose to use them, or discourage them entirely and get them to go into US 301 and other larger arteries
up in Annapolis and Trader Joe's.
Right. Or Crofton, right?
Hey, may I ask
Sure.
So what's the timeline for your townhome, I guess Mid-Atlantic, for the townhome development? When do you
I think I've seen you on site.
Yes.
I think I did. I saw you out on site. So you have firsthand knowledge.
Right.
The spine road has been put in,
Right.
and right now we envision summer of 2022 that we will be kind of with sales and construction starting probably mid to late summer.
And then expectation of completion would be?
It's probably a 3 to 4, maybe 5-year project when it's all said and done.
Right, I remember.
Just, it'll be a combination of, how quickly we get started, but I think that that's probably a reasonable expectation.
So 22, 23.
27, right? Something like that, 26,
Okay.
27, something like
It's gonna be
that.
a while. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your questions.
Afternoon, my name is Larry Clark, I also live in the community as well. I'm looking at it more as a potential buyer for the residents. I want to get an idea of target demographic, what you're expecting cost. Thank you for your question, the timeline. But I mean, obviously, the way prices are now, do you have an idea in terms of estimates?
I would tell you that's moving.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, I can tell you, as you all know today, real estate prices are moving. The cost of building materials is changing. We really haven't been able to refine that because that's all moving so quickly. So I would tell you that, get us a little further into 2022 and we'll have a little better visibility about where we think pricing is going to be.
Can I ask them all the time, don't tell me.
If somebody could stop the lumber from
Yeah,
moving
right.
around and so forth, I'd give you a better indication, but that's our biggest challenge. I don't want to use supply chain, but the reality is supply chain is a big challenge for all of us.
Opportunities to be contacted to kind of.
Absolutely. We'll get started with, at some point, we'll start online marketing and we'll create the opportunity for us to engage and get on a mailing list and, email list, I guess is probably more appropriate and be able to give you information as we get a little further into 2022 when things get a lot more definite than where we are right now.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh, another question, St. John's folks. I keep seeing signs, land for sale, and then you have all these plans for the townhomes and the apartment buildings. Are you really selling the land, or it's all spoken for?
Yes.
What's that was a diplomatic response. Would you break that down, please?
I mean, everything is programmed, you see it, but, right, various pieces, nothing's for sale, but everything's for sale. We're a long-term holder, we own the whole thing except for Thrive and for Encompass. We're developing the apartments ourselves.
Oh,
So, but there's 3 of them, and so there's one chunk closest probably to the lake there on the far eastern side of the site. That's probably what we're referring to. But
I see.
but that's been in the market. You wouldn't see it, but for the professional side, it's been for sale forever. And so,
Yeah, I called the number one time and asked how much for an acre.
What did they tell you?
$1 million.
That's right.
Yeah.
$1.2 million now.
I asked. I said to the representative, "Are you negotiable?"
You should have bought it. It just wouldn't.
I said, "I'll keep playing the lottery."
Yeah, sure.
Could you elaborate a bit more in terms of the amenities that are being built by the Orange Line? You kind of outlined, I think that's a watershed area. I don't know, not watershed, but like a marsh area. Is that, I think I saw a site plan or something like that where it's supposed to be like a pavilion or amphitheater.
Yeah,
something
sure.
like that. Is that kind of what's going in that area that you?
So Melford was, these ponds, these lakes were established in March. They have a function. They handle a lot of stormwater management that is generated from the site and contains it, treats it, keeps it on site. So a lot of these areas are discharging the sewer system and such into the storm drain system into these ponds. So yes, we're trying to amenitize them. That was part of the whole mixed-use concept, just to find ways to use things on site to amenitize, not just with structures and houses, but outdoor opportunities for passive and active recreation.
What's the definition of amenitize?
Amenitize could be anything from having a retail commercial opportunity to marry up with an office opportunity. outdoor activities, recreational activities, things that somebody in a mixed-use community would consider to be an amenity, an attractive element to want to locate in such a project. So we're trying to capture all of those things in here to really make it a holistic opportunity for workers, residents, and tenants or shoppers. So, with that being said, yes, there's a master plan trail that's planned to go through this woodland area, which is about 100 acres, which was actually dedicated by the developer. It abuts the Patuxent River kind of watershed. So it's part of the master plan network that the county has planned and that the city's had input into in terms of the design. There'll be connector trails in the project proper that folks, the sidewalk system and such, can access upon its development. You mentioned the pavilion. If you go out there now, you see a lot of grading activities going on. Well, this pond right here, which already had a walkway around it, part of the main drive that's being installed, Lake Melford Avenue, there is up on the kind of high point a very large pavilion that's being installed right now to kind of be a gathering spot, a nice outdoor room to overlook that pond, to take advantage of it, not just not just recognizing its function as a stormwater management facility, but really integrated as an amenity, an attractive view shed for folks. The restaurant I mentioned, the future potential restaurant, which we don't have a user for, that is we're anticipating that location over that very same lake and near that pavilion will be a very attractive pool for a nice hopefully white tablecloth restaurant to go in there ultimately. So. So those are examples of the kind of amenities that I meant when I referenced them in my presentation.
Amphitheater was planned for that specifically. To your specific question on the amphitheater.
Oh yeah, sorry, right here. That's there. Yeah. So
That's my lake.
that's your
Did you borrow?
Did you all, I don't know if it's the city of Bowie, clean the Fibonacci fountain, what I call in the middle of that little lake there? Did Bowie do that? It looked like it was clean.
Bowie definitely would. We might have, but Bowie.
Yeah. Yeah. And when the Marriott the courtyard came in, I'm always curious and ask a lot of questions. They said that the future plans entailed a few more, if the hotel succeeded the courtyard, which I think it is, you're going to build a few more hotels behind it.
He can do 2 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're different. I forget. This one is courtyard. There was.
Right.
They're all Marriott brands.
So they'll all be there.
Yeah.
Right behind.
Yes.
that
It's
lot.
all going to fit on that little parcel.
It's actually shown here, so we have an opportunity to come up, you can see where the future hotel footprints are. But they have a detailed site plan as well, that, set out where those areas would be, so everything kind of fits and functions together.
Will you guys separately incorporate eventually from Bowie or try to?
No, we're the reason we even exist is because we came into the city many, many years ago, and it was through collaboration, cooperation, and agreements that infrastructure was extended, and it was all, they're a very vital part to our planning and growth, and hopefully we're a vital part to their continued growth and success. I think Andrew and Joe, I think St. John Properties, this project's the largest taxpayer in the city of Bowie collectively.
Sure is. Great.
It's 1.5 million square feet of commercial space.
Yeah, right. I was dumbfounded by that statistic.
So with respect, I believe Kevin, right? With respect to the 5-year plan, how does that typically work out? You said there's a 5-year plan, so you have a target date of when you estimate that you would initiate the project, and then you determine based on, I guess, the supply of your community. Is that what kind of draws out your timeline, or what?
So I guess what it'll come down to is how many folks come out to buy, how quickly they want to buy. We have some ideas of what we think the timing could look like, but the last year has thrown all of us a surprise, right? I don't think any of us thought a year ago that when the pandemic started, how dramatic real estate would start to move a couple months later. So I would say that the sellout will be conditioned upon how quickly people come out to buy the homes and how quickly we get through it. But
Okay, so your development, that's contingent upon like.
not at all. All the additional things that are happening in Melford, we think are all beneficial to our townhome buyers. All the amenities that are planned, we think are going to be fantastic to the townhome buyers. But we don't, we're not concerned about the timing of the hotel per se, because I think ultimately our townhome buyers are coming out to appreciate the lifestyle that's there today. It's going to get better over time as these other amenities kind of come on, or these other users come on. So.
Any other questions? Do you have a timeline for the two complexes or apartment complexes in Crete? Do you have a timeline? So I understood in Atlantic, like a 5-year guesstimate. Do you have a timeline for the apartment complexes?
The one on the far west, we're basically starting it now. So we're starting with the garage structure. It's a major structure. And that's that one there.
Right.
And then probably the wood structure will go up in the spring. Because the garage takes a long time to build. It's a big thing. And that's a 18-month to 24-month construction sequence just to build that unit.
The garage.
The whole
The whole complex.
So it probably wouldn't be ready until the fall of '23. And then once that's up, then you start the next one.
The one across.
So it's
Fall of 23, that's pretty quick. How many units?
What are we in the fall 21 and 2 years? Two years from now?
And how many units will that,
388.
and the one across?
420.
In multiple buildings.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
A series of 9 little buildings.
Right. And there'll be like swimming pools and things like that. Essentially, really connected. Those will be apartments or condos?
They're definitely apartments, apartment homes.
I've seen the signs change over the last years from condos to apartments.
They're going to be really nice. They're going to be really, really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm Scott Bowie, second resident of Bowie. As a request of you guys, I'm really from townhouse, but my neighborhood is just north. We have, if I went to Melford, go around the circle, and it's in first, and turn after the hotel there, is the traffic, I was following the traffic plan, is anything changing with the entrance to Melford with the circles and all that?
So,
Way in the future.
yeah, so one of our conditions of our development is we're supposed to look at several intersections internally, and that's one of them. And we do what's called a signal warrant analysis, where we look and see the traffic flows, how it's operating, and if it operates at a level that would warrant a traffic signal, then, and so sometime out in the future, it's possible. We haven't triggered any of those warrants yet, but it could become a fully signalized intersection in the future. So that's part of the conditioned approvals. But as it grows over time, each site plan, such as the one we come in here, we have to test for that and provide that analysis at that intersection in particular, which I think would be the nearest one to. Right.
I'm sorry, I have 4 questions, but I got you guys.
That's why we're here.
It's very rare. How about a guesstimate of development of the other 2 hotels? Do you have any? No idea.
And that's a separate owner.
Yeah, separate owner. I talked to, his name's Dr. Murphy. He owns the one behind Bowie Town Center too.
Oh, so the suites or
The suites.
Yeah.
Same gentleman.
I see.
But I mean, Kobe didn't know business.
Yeah.
He's had a real background. And then just prior to COVID with the meltdown, the hardest thing to finance in America were hotels. Before COVID.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's doing well.
It's a beautiful hotel.
Yeah.
Always love it. Yes.
And he's a great person.
Very, very kind.
Very good.
I did want to mention one thing, just for your information, about the improvements that St. John is doing. They've also agreed to do a sidewalk connection from Melford down through the Route 3 interchange area, under Route 3 over into the Kennel section. So there will be safe pedestrian access to and from Melford. Right.
Yes.
From Melford into our
Correct.
Bowie. Oh, that's.
If there are no other major questions, we can end the formal part of the meeting, and you're welcome to stay and ask questions individually and look at the boards longer. Thank you for coming out. You'll be notified when the city's hearings are scheduled in the next couple months. You'll get a letter from me, and you can participate in those hearings then. So thank you for coming out, and have a good evening.
Thank you all for. Thank you. Thank you.
If you are